Hello everyone and welcome for today's webinar on Equitu's invoice capture and management solution, which fully integrates with your construction for Sage 50 and construction for Sage 200 job costing software. My name's Anthony Edwards, I'm pre-sales consultant here at Equitu, and I'll take you through today's short presentation. So, as a quick agenda for today, I'm going to give you an intro to invoice capture and management. We'll talk about some of the features and the licensing models and the different user types that you can have. We'll go through a walkthrough of the software. I then just want to talk a little bit about another solution called Spindle Document Distribution. And we'll just summarize with some of the benefits and talk about the next steps for you. So to get straight into it, invoice capture and management, what is it? Well, essentially it will allow you to capture any incoming invoices, i.e. purchase invoices, and attach the documents for those invoices to the transactions that you have processed in your construction for Sage software. So this will integrate, as I mentioned, to construction for Sage 50, construction for Sage 200, but also into Sage 200 financials. So what I mean by that is if we capture an invoice document in the construction for Sage 200 solution, that document will also be attached to the transaction that appears in your Sage 200 financials software. It also allows you to import incoming files and email attachments, so you can drag and drop files, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the presentation. Once you've captured your incoming documents, it will then allow you to view those documents directly through the software. And if you don't know where that document is or where it's stored, you can use a search function to search for that document at a future date. So again, we can talk about that through the presentation, but essentially it will allow non-construction for Sage users to find and view any relevant documents if they need to. So some of the features of the invoice capture and management solution, as we talked about, is the seamless integration with your construction for Sage account software. It will allow you to drag and drop electronically stored documents to the transaction stored within your construction for Sage software. So what I mean by this is if you say receive a purchase invoice via email, and it's in a PDF attachment to that email, for example, you can drag and drop that attachment from the email to the capture software. It will then allow you to attach that document to the transaction that you've already processed within your construction software. We can also scan documents in, so if you are still receiving items through the post, for example, we can print off barcodes on barcode labels. You attach the label to the invoice, scan the document in, and it will read the barcode and attach the scanned in document to the transaction you processed in your software. This will also identify batches. So if you've got multiple pages of those invoice documents, then it will recognize that it's a batch, merge those into one file and attach that file to the transaction. And as I mentioned, you can search for any documents if you need to. So if you need to view those documents at a later date, you can search by any information that you can record on an invoice. So that could be the supplier reference, it could be the invoice number, the internal reference number, the invoice date, etc. So there are advanced search functionality tools in there also. One thing that's not on the slide is it will also identify unscanned documents. So essentially any transaction that you've processed in your software that has also had a barcode printed but hasn't yet been put through the scanner, the solution will identify that you haven't actually scanned those documents and therefore it is a missing document. We can have two different types of users at two different price ranges. So we have a capture user, which essentially allows you to scan, drag and drop and attach any document to the transaction within your construction software. It will allow the user to print barcodes, to view previously archived invoices. It will allow you to view a pending tray for documents that have been captured but haven't yet been authorized, for example, or haven't yet been archived. And it will also allow the user, provided you give that user access, it will allow them to delete previously archived invoices also. Whereas we also have a viewer user, which is at a reduced cost, which only allows that user to view archived documents, either directly through the Construction for Sage software or through the Invoice capture software. Okay, so how does this work? Well, I'm just going to dive into the software now, and we'll go through a quick walkthrough of how this will actually work for you in real life. So, for example, I've got a purchase invoice screen open in front of me at the moment, and I've got an invoice highlighted on this screen. Now I have a new scan button down in the bottom right hand corner here, and if I choose scan it gives me a number of options. So I could now capture a scanned in document, I could capture a file that appears on my PC, C drive or server. It will allow me to capture an item from a pending tray, so this could be a pre-scanned document that hasn't yet been authorized. I can print barcodes and I can view documents. So if I was to click on capture pending tray, it will show me the documents that have been previously imported into my pending tray. I can select those documents and archive them, which will attach that document to the transaction that I've chosen. Now if I come out of here, if I then choose scan and view documents, it will see the previously 2 invoices that I've actually attached to that transaction, so I can now view those through the document capture solution. So it allows you to drill down into the actual document on every transaction that you've processed. If you're processing new transactions or new invoices, we still have the document header where we can type in the invoice number, the document date, the due date, the reference number, etc. But again, we have this new scan option. It will allow us to quick print barcode. So if we choose the quick print barcode, once we've processed the detail for this invoice and press save, a barcode will appear on your barcode printer. We would take that barcode, attach it to the document and scan the document in at the end of the day. That will attach that invoice document to the invoice transaction that we've just processed. So really, just to summarize for that process, it really is a very quick 3-step process. So number 1, you process your transaction as normal within the Construction for Sage software. Number 2, when you save that transaction, a barcode is printed on a barcode label printer which just sits on your desk. You can take that barcode label and stick that barcode label to the invoice document. Now you leave that invoice document to the side and come back to it later on, and you just continue that process, processing your transactions, sticking the barcode to the document and leaving it to the side in a pile that you'll come back to later on. Now at the end of the day, when you've processed all of your invoices, all you need to do is to take that pile of invoices that all have barcodes attached to them, place them through the scanner. The scanner and the software will read the barcode and it will read the detail on the barcode. It will identify which transaction it relates to and attach that document to the transaction within your Construction for Sage software. Okay, so a very easy 3-step process. Then there's no extra manual input at all. Now we also have another addition, an optional addition we called spindle document distribution. Now the invoice capture and management is all about incoming invoices. The document distribution is all about outgoing invoices. Okay, and this is optional. It is a solution that is developed by one of our business partners, a company called Dracer. But essentially this allows you to brand any outgoing documents. So we can save templates of branded documents. So you might have one template for outgoing files and another template for internal files, for example. We can archive any outgoing documents. So if we take a purchase order, for example, if we were to send a supplier a purchase order by email directly from the construction software, the document distribution solution will archive a copy of that order, in a file location of your choice, so you can come back to it and view that document at a later date. Now if we take that same purchase order example, if you were to email that document out, what we could do is set up rules against that document to say, okay, every time that we email a purchase order, send one copy with one template, one branded template to the supplier, and that copy might have the materials description, the quantity, and the price of the materials that you're ordering. Okay, just as an example. But you might set up a rule to say every time that document leaves the system by email, I also want you to take a copy of that order. I want you to remove the prices, and I want you to put a different template onto that order, maybe with an internal watermark on, and send a copy of that to maybe the contracts manager. Okay, so we can set up that rule within the document distribution solution to either archive documents or to send to different people in different formats. And it does all of that with one click of a button. It will allow you to protect your outgoing documents, so you can put passwords on, you can digitally sign PDF documents, etc. And you can add extra attachments. So again, if we come back to the purchase order, say if you need to attach terms and conditions to that purchase order. Now traditionally, you would have to add a separate attachment to the outgoing email. Okay, with document distribution, you don't need to do that. What document distribution will do is it will find your terms and conditions document and it will merge it with the purchase order into one PDF file. Okay, now that's just one example with terms and conditions. It could be used for an array of different processes. It could be used for outgoing orders that need to be pre-authorized, etc. Okay, so spindle document distribution, there's lots of possibilities with that. Please do give us a call and speak to us if you do have any questions about that. It is an optional extra for you. So really just to summarize, coming back to the invoice capture and management, summarize some of the benefits that you'll get with the invoice capture solution. It really does allow you to save space, and this is an overlooked benefit. So essentially what we're getting away from is the traditional method of manually saving our documents and keeping our documents in a filing cabinet somewhere in the office. So we're getting to more of a paperless environment. We can get rid of those manual filing cabinets and use up the office space for something that's going to add a bit more value. Maybe it's another desk for another member of staff who's going to help you grow the business, for example. We can reduce your environmental impact, so it reduces that paper usage, as we mentioned. It will allow you to batch scan your documents, so you can scan them all in and it will merge those documents into one overall file for you. Okay, so you don't have to do that manually anymore. It's improving your processes because you can instantly view all of your saved documents through the software. So you don't need to get out your seat, you don't need to go through a filing cabinet, search that filing cabinet for the invoice you're looking for. You know, you can do all of that directly through the software with intelligent search routines. And of course, this is all built up to save you time and money. It's no wasted time with the filing cabinets, wasted time searching for documents. You know, if you, as maybe somebody in the operational or commercial side of the business, for example, no longer needs to go to somebody based in the office to get that invoice document for you, you can very simply use the search tool and call up that invoice for yourself. So it really does save you time and money.